Hi, and welcome to Stories from the Elders. I'm your host, Melinda Nassif. In this episode, I'll be talking to a lovely elder named Deirdree, who lives on the northern beaches in Sydney, New South Wales, Australia. Her journey is quite delicate, open and honest, and shares some challenging experiences that may not get talked about often, but equally important to hear and share. We're going to discuss the good times and also delve into some hard truths that I hope gets us thinking about the choices we can make in our own life and how we get through tough times. So let's begin our journey with Deirdree. Hello. So we might start by having you introduce yourself.
I'm Deirdree.
And how old are you?
75.
Beautiful. And did you grow up in the Northern Beaches?
Well, I was born in Melbourne and then I developed asthma and I had to come to Sydney.
Yeah, right.
I was only 11 months old or something and I turned blue on the plane.
Oh, gosh.
And I think we lived in Balmain, but I don't remember that part.
Yeah.
But then we were staying
Amen.
before you go up Darley Road to the hospital, right down near the beach.
Nice.
Oh, it was lovely.
So easy and convenient, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to leave.
No, I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
No, it was good.
And do you know much about your ancestry?
No, brother just rang me today. Have you found that birth certificate? No, I haven't, because he does all that. Bother with
You
that.
don't bother with it?
No, I'm too old.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Were your parents Australian too, or did they come from overseas?
I think they're from Ireland, their grandparents. That's what my brother's trying to find the passport. So I think it's Irish.
So you grew up in the Northern Beaches
Yeah.
predominantly? How was that for you?
It was great. We had the sand dancers
Okay.
down there, like North Stone, South Stone and Queenscliff, alternate Friday nights, and that was no trouble, nothing, no fight, no drinking. And they had it in the surf club and they had sand on the floor and that's where I probably injured my back doing rock and roll.
Having too much fun.
Yeah, having a lot of fun.
Oh, awesome. So did you do rock and roll dancing?
Yeah.
Oh, it would be great. I love rock and roll
Under
dancing.
their legs and over the back. No wonder my back's shot to
Yeah,
pieces.
there you go. Too much fun back then.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
great.
That was the best time. Well, I always wanted to do line dancing, but because we used to dance in bare feet, I couldn't stand shoes on. I said, can I do it in bare feet? I said, no. So I didn't do it anymore because I
Yeah,
was just
that
so
would be-
used to doing dancing in bare feet on the sand. Everyone had bare feet, so you didn't get trodden on or anything.
Oh, it sounds like you would have had so much fun and so much freedom. And so, what was school like for you? Did you enjoy it?
I just wanted to do sewing. How I got through anything else. I didn't get my intermediate. I left at 16 and they said to me, well, you've got a choice. You can leave and go and apply for this job and then leave, or you stay at school. So I went and applied for it. It was an apprenticeship. I got it and stayed there for 4 years. I had to tell her off once because she had me applique and lace for 2 years and she was supposed to be teaching me other things. So I had to say, I've got to learn something else besides applique and lace. But everything was done by hand because there was no overlock or anything in that day, so it was all what we called over sewing the seams, so they didn't fray. I loved it.
It's kind of therapeutic, actually.
It is.
Isn't it?
Yeah, between the garden and the sewing, that's what I love
What
doing.
you love doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, I get tired in the afternoons.
That's fair enough, though. And so after that job, did you go into anything else?
Yes, I went and did alterations at North Sydney and then David Jones at the mall. Yes, I was up in the roof doing the alterations. I was the next in line to go downstairs and fit people, even the men. Until it was one Easter and it was a heat wave because I had so many jumpers on because it was cold upstairs. I walked outside and collapsed and then I got bronchitis and the doctor said you just can't work there anymore in air conditioning. So I gave it up and then I started doing it at home.
Oh, excellent. And did you create your own business or work?
I was making things. Now my back's too bad. I can't kneel down and I used to do a lot of sewing for Nolene Hogan, Paul Hogan's wife.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I just do alterations now.
Good. You'll get on with my mum. She loves doing it too.
It's relaxing. I used to do my sewing during the day and then sit down and do my hand sewing at night. But I used to kneel down and cut out and I can't do that anymore. Bones are that.
Too much. Any highlights in your life? Like, did you go travelling or?
No, not in my younger days, but Joanne, she lives at the Sunshine Coast. They bought a unit up here, upstairs, and we started going camping in the bush and
That's nice to do that,
Oh,
isn't it? It's the best thing for
best thing out.
you. Yeah.
What's one thing you've noticed that's different in today's world compared to your life when you were younger?
Totally different to what it is now. Like, I could walk down the street in bare feet. Now, my mother was always putting makeup on, even if she didn't go out, and she was disgusted in me. But you could do it safely. I wouldn't be going to do that now. This is daytime. Even as a teenager, it's just changed.
The freedom.
The freedom, there's no respect anymore. Like, we weren't even allowed to talk at the table,
Yeah.
and we respected that.
Yeah.
And if my father and that had visitors, you know, mother and father had visitors, they would tell us to eat our dinner and then leave the room. But we did it. But I mean, they don't have respect on the buses or anything, you know, on transport anymore. Even walking past you, they just about knock you over.
They don't get up for you.
No, they don't get up for you. The young ones just expect you to move for them.
Yes, I can see what you mean. So many people have their heads in their phones these days.
I just think it's all too different. We had it so easy at school, and we had it so easy in life compared to what it is now. It's all rush, and
Yeah.
they seem to be going like at 100 miles an hour.
So active. I mean, it's
Yeah.
good, but it's also like
It's
they almost got too much.
Yeah, it's
They-
like they're
too much
wearing
stimulus.
themselves out before they even get
Yeah.
started, you know. I mean, we
Lost that sense of simplicity a
yes,
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like I look at Ethan now, he's just turned, 14? And all the sports that those two kids do, they're my grandchildren.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, we did sports, but we enjoyed it. But I think they're just cramming everything into one space. And they're going to wear their motors out before they
Yeah.
get too old. You know, they just don't do it at the slower pace that we, and enjoy it.
And do you think that comes more from the parents or the education system, or?
No, I think it's the kids. They want to do all these sports. And like Ethan wanted to play music and things like that, and then he got sick of that. There's too many things to get sick of instead of just playing one sport.
But that's the overload of media and
Oh, yes.
internet and
Yeah.
iPads, and like they're
All
kind of
those sort of things.
finding out all this information, and you know they've all of a sudden got, oh yeah, we could do this. Oh no,
We
we could
can
do
do
that.
that,
We could do
and-
this. Let's
yeah.
do it all. Like
Yeah,
it's like overload, and so that
Yeah.
filters through to
filter through.
to
Yeah.
them a little bit.
But then they never stop. Well, they do to go on their, iPads or whatever they are. And then they get into trouble because they're playing them too much. See, we didn't have anything like that.
No.
We were quite happy just going outside until we were called in for tea.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't go away anywhere, but we just played with the groups in the street. And it was good, it was fun. But I just wouldn't like it now to,
Yeah.
if they were mine, to sort of disappear out of sight or something like that. It's too risky.
Yeah, for sure.
But it was a good life. It was good from about the age of 10, but we grew up as kids. Like, we were still kids at 10, and we didn't think any more of what's going on or anything like that. And we just enjoyed what we had. Yeah, you are more appreciative than what they take things for granted today, whereas we didn't. It was a good thing. I mean, we got one toy for our birthday and one toy for Christmas. But we were thrilled with that.
Wow, so different to these days.
They just get everything sort of given to them on a silver platter, and we had to earn it. If we wanted anything, we had to
Yeah.
earn it with Mum doing
Yeah.
the housework or
Yeah. Well, and that's a good thing, I think.
shopping.
To
Yeah,
show that you understand
the value of
value.
money. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think they do these days.
No, that's definitely true.
Mm.
Yeah, I can see that with some kids. I don't know, maybe it's just that parents feel guilty or that they want to give them the best, and
Yeah,
you know,
all right.
and
yeah,
then some go over
You-
a bit too much or don't realise that they're
just to give them
Yeah.
the value of if you don't work, you don't get anything.
yeah.
And I give both the same.
Yeah, it sounds like I had a good upbringing and a good life. as you
I
said.
mean, my parents were strict, but they weren't over strict. You know, you never got belted. Yeah, we got punished if we did the wrong thing. We'd have to go to our room and they'd mean it, stay there until we tell you can come out. And because the rules were all different. We had to abide by their rules, whereas I think a lot of kids talk back to their parents these days and just backchat them.
They really know how to get what they want.
Oh yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're quite smart.
Especially if you live in units and they're going, keep quiet, I'll give you what you want. You know,
Yeah.
makes a big difference in a unit compared to a house.
Yeah, that's true. So let's go back to when you were younger, when you went to school, had a social life.
Yeah, that was pretty good. The social life was good until I met one of Tony's friends, and
Who's Tony?
that's the kid's father. There was 4 of them, and there was one mate. I really liked him better than I did Tony, but I found out he was engaged to someone in New Zealand, and that's where all the trouble started. And because I just said, well, the next one I meet's not going to hurt me. And that was Tony, so he didn't really hurt me. I put a barrier up there, and I thought, well, if you don't really love them, they can't really hurt you. But no, I really enjoyed it. I mean, we only got to go out Friday and Saturday night. I just enjoyed the dances. But see, they don't have the dances anymore. They had Johnny O'Keefe and all of them down there they called it the Rotunda down the end of my street. And it was real rock and roll, live music. It was also fresh air and things like that. But they don't seem to do anything anymore. Not because of the virus, but there wasn't much.
It's a bit more controlled now, isn't it? It sounds like you had that movement and freedom.
Yeah, we knew what to expect. Yeah, we
knew.
There
was no limitation.
And I think the Canopus room in Manly was the only one that had a dance floor as well. And the rock and roll music that we liked. But no, I couldn't have asked for anything better in those days. We never thought of any bad things.
Yeah.
Never entered our minds. We just enjoyed our Friday and Saturday nights dancing away.
Yeah.
With no shoes on. Oh God, yes. That's what I said. No wonder I got a bad back. Oh, well, you go over their backs, you go under their legs.
Say, you do the whole
oh yeah, you did everything.
And all of that.
The whole lot.
That's great.
Oh, it was fun. That's why I love Dirty Dancing, because I just watched that. It was good, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And so going back to what you said earlier, you ended up with Tony?
I married Tony before I was 21, so I was married to him for 13 years.
Oh wow.
And
both your sons?
Tony, yes, yeah. He was fine until Peter was born, but I lost 2 in between, and when I was in hospital losing the second one, because I was crying, he just turned around and said, "What are you crying for?" And I said, "Well, we just lost another baby."
Yeah.
And I was of the impression that I didn't want to just have one if I could help it. And I don't think I ever forgave him for saying what he said in the hospital. I mean, you don't say that to someone.
Especially after you've lost it.
Lost it, yeah. When he was fine with Sean until Peter was born. Now that's 6.5 years later. But as Peter got born, Sean didn't exist. I used to go and I sewed till 2 o'clock in the morning, and Sean would come out and until he went to bed, but he'd come out and play cards. And I think that had a lot of impact on Sean. Not that he says anything, because like Peter always says, oh, Sean's the favourite. But Peter forgets that he was his father's favourite. But I just felt so sorry for Sean, because it was like there was still only one child there, and that was Peter. And wasn't actually hatred, because I still talk to him now, but I think it just ate at me, starting with the miscarriage and what he said, and then the way he treated Sean. I just couldn't handle it anymore. And
did you try to talk to him about it, or did you not really? It was a bit difficult.
No, it was a bit hard. I mean, I mentioned it to him, and he said, "I didn't mean that," but it's too late. You've already said it, and it's stuck in my brain. No, so I just got worse and worse, and then I got the nerves of the stomach, and that was another thing he was horrible about. They tested me for a hiatus hernia because I was that bad, and he said, "Told you it was only nerves of the stomach." And you know what the doctor up at Collaroy said? You know what? He said, "Nerves of the stomach are the hardest thing to fix." He said, "So don't tell her that it's nothing." So he got a lecture from my doctor. But, like even with all these medical reports I've got now, I had to get some stuff to settle my tummy down, because whenever Tony was due to come home from work, lucky I pre-cooked a lot of meals because I'd be on the toilet. I'm fine the minute he goes to work. He went to work. But the minute he came home, so we had the separation in the house because both Sean and Peter were bad with asthma. Yeah, I wasn't allowed to cook for him. I wasn't allowed to do anything, so I just ignored him and pretended he wasn't there until, the divorce came through. And, we even had the same solicitor till we got over town. Then he got into trouble again because he didn't give me enough money to live on. He was the tight ass I'd ever known. Yeah, that was one. And then I met Dick just before the divorce went through. So out of one bad one into another bad one. I mean, I didn't mean to, I just met him down at the Leaves Club. I used to go with a girlfriend, and that's where it started. But then that's where I felt sorry for Sean again, because Peter was a young age, he could control him, but he couldn't control Sean, and he was pretty nasty towards Sean. But I was so scared to get out, and even though there's a lot for domestic violence now, you still got to have the nerve to grab your kids and go, whereas I put up with heaps all those years. I mean, I was only married to him for 3. I think about half of one. Yeah, half of one was all right. But he just snapped like that. I mean, he'd say to the kids, your mother never wants for anything. I must admit, that's whatever I wanted, I would get. But it was a high price to pay for anything I wanted. And then because he'd started to slap Sean, like Tony used to slap Sean, and across the head and things like that. But until I went to the doctors and got some help, I was too scared to do anything. They didn't have a phone call like they do now, whereas you could go down the street now and ring someone. But getting away from them in those days was too hard, especially when you got your husband sleep on the floor with knives and saying I'll kill you if you go to get out. So it's just
horrible. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. If only they had the support you needed.
I mean, I'm glad they've got it now. I just wish they had it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I was treated very well, I must admit, even by the detectives and things like that. But it was getting to that point.
Yeah, what made you get to that point?
He had hit me, and I was just so frightened for the kids and myself. And then the first time I went to a doctor, I went to my mother's. Then he started annoying my mother. So I came back home, and then he was going to change the locks on the door. And I said, can he do it? And they said, yes, he can, I'm sorry. So even then, you were stuck. You either came home or you gave it all to him. So, But anyway, I think he had all his top teeth out, or all his teeth out, I can't remember now. And he had a bottle of whiskey. Well, that really went off the Richter scale. And that's why I won't sleep in there, because he smashed a torch on the bedside table and cut my throat with it. So that's why I hate Easter, because I knew it was just before Easter, and the only way I could get out was to say I'm taking Peter to school. And because he was here, I don't know whether Sean was here then or not, but Peter was here, and I took him to school that early, so when the Dingaling didn't register, the shops weren't even open. And then I just went to my doctor. He said, you can't go back there. So that's when he sent me up to the refuge, and he got the detectives to come up and interview me. And that's when they charged him.
And the kids were with you at the time? Or did they have to get them from school?
Oh, they had to get them from school.
Yeah.
I mean, Sean was older than Peter was. And so Sean sort of understood. But I would have liked to have left earlier. But Sean said, no, don't do it, because he'll kill you. So he was scared for me, which made me all the more scared. But these kids don't need to see this. Whereas Peter might have forgotten most of it, but Sean never will. I mean, Sean had 27 days off school and hid over in the bush. They asked him if he wanted, and he was in high school, asked him if he wanted any more time off. But once it all, they got rid of him. See, it does things to them mentally too, because they stopped him. I said to him, he's probably over, the police, I said, he's probably over in the bush, because he hasn't been to school, So they called him, and they said, don't come out. We're trying to get Mr. You-know-who out. And it was quite a few hours, from about lunchtime, I think it was, till after 3. That's when he doused it in petrol. But most of it was oil, because he had an oil heating air conditioned, and he was working out of the boilers and that at Mona Vale Hospital. So he had a guy here with him, and the guy said he'd lit a match, but apparently the oil didn't burn as fast as petrol would. You had some petrol there, but it was so embarrassing. It really was. I mean, they evacuated the street to that block of units right up the corner, and I didn't want to come back. I thought, well, I've got nowhere else to go. You know, and you got the fire brigade, all these cops. But other than staying at the refuge, I had nowhere else.
And how long did you have to stay there for?
I think you're only supposed to stay for about 6 weeks. But I think I stayed there for a couple of months because this place was in such a mess that, and we had nothing to wear. So I had to wear kids' clothes from the garage up there. I mean, Sean and Peter were all right because their father had him for a couple of them, you know, for an amount of time. So they weren't too bad. I couldn't even take them to school. It was only next door. Or bring them home. But I just had nothing else to do. Yeah, I couldn't do anything else. And I didn't know what else to do at that stage. Because they normally send you to another, away from your own district. But one, there was no time for it. And two, I had nothing. So he tried to find me, but my girlfriend wouldn't tell him where I was. So he didn't know.
And did he get arrested or anything?
Yeah, they arrested him, and then they had a trial, and he was only in jail for 6 weeks. But because he was a good little boy and walked the dog and played snooker, they let him off.
Gosh, just like that. That's it.
Yeah, because I had legal aid. Then, because he had a barrister, I had to get a barrister, and that's where I owe the $32,000. I'm refusing to pay it. The boys can sell the place when I go, and they can deal with it. I just didn't think it was fair, and a friend or my solicitor just said, well, she said, because he got a barrister and they get off, she said, you will have to get one too. And I felt like saying, what did I need one for? I never said anything. They just said to him, take a look at this little tiny lady that you've beaten up, and nothing. Then he just walked past me when he came out and smirked, said, I told you I'd win.
Oh, that's just nasty. It can be a very unfair justice system. It's unbelievable.
Back then it was. I don't think they have the same problem these days. I think there's more there for them, more support for them. I mean, I had the girls from the refuge with me as well, and I had photographs from the detectives. But once you get a barrister, 6 weeks, ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely.
And yet you see people on TV, they go and kill someone, but because they got a barrister, well, now they claim mental illness. And you wonder why people claim mental illness, because there's one way of getting out of it, whether you have or you haven't. But they didn't even, in those days, they didn't even get the treatment that they get now.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot on mental health everywhere now. But that was a hush-hush. You sort of didn't mention it. And that goes back, for a long time. But now you can just come out and say, I'm mental. And who can't act mental? Well, so I'm really pleased that there is a lot more for people out here now. I mean, when he did what he did and the siege was on, they told my brother he was coming out, to get me inside, keep her away from the windows, and don't let her talk to anyone. So I still have not said my side of the story because the detectives wouldn't let me speak to the reporters. But they wanted that for my safety because the detective said to me, he said, we stopped you because, well, one, you weren't in any fit state to talk to anyone. And then he said, that way there's no comeback on you. You don't say anything, they don't know anything. But no one ever asked either. Whereas these days, they're inclined to ask the other person more than in those days. It's not much, but it's just the little things I notice now. Because sometimes I'll sit there and watch the ad for like domestic violence and say, well, why wasn't that there when I needed it? That I get sad or anything like that. And I just think, thank God they've finally done something before people, get murdered. I mean, I could have been, you don't know. The kids could have been. Because he was mentally ill, but that's beside the point. I took no notice because I was in love more with the second one than the first one.
I guess when you're in love, you don't kind of tolerate or hope that it will get better, and you don't think.
Yeah, well, you don't think they're going to treat you that way.
And then when they do, it's like.
I was warned.
Well, you're probably in shock when you're like in this state of.
Yeah. Well,
what do you do? Like,
what do you do? Yeah.
You get stuck in it. Yeah.
But I think too, even the doctors have changed because you go to a doctor's now because you've got the support there. But when I went, I still had to come back. So there was no in between sort of thing.
So you didn't get much support by the sounds of it?
Well, the first time I did it sort of on my own when I went to my mother's until he started harassing. But if you call them now, they can sort of intervene and do all this. But they couldn't do anything up at the refuge because they didn't know anything until I turned up there. So I just think it's such a good thing.
Is there any advice you'd give to anyone that with what you've been through?
Don't do it again.
Get out.
Get out. Get out.
Just do it. Don't think twice.
No, don't think twice, 3 times, whatever. And I know it's hard to say don't be scared because I was petrified. But he was tall and quite strong. And you think, oh, I don't stand a chance. But you have to sort of get out of here, out of there, out of the situation. Otherwise you just keep taking it on all the time. And it just doesn't work. They keep saying they're going to get better, but they don't. They do for about a week and then it just all starts again. And I just think, just get out, make your phone call from outside or when they're at work or something, just do it. There's bound to be more places now than there was. Yeah, there's so much for the children and the person involved. I mean, women aren't the only ones. Some men get abused as well.
Right, yeah.
And we're inclined to forget that.
That's true.
It is true, they do, but at least they got a phone number for them too. So, but they had nothing for a man at all, from memory anyway. So I think they're doing a wonderful job. I just wish it had been in my time.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I just think there's so much for them now. Like I was petrified to make the original step. And you put up with heaps. I did for months, but you just can't, you know. I mean, I'd get the girls from school, if he'd hit me, I'd get the girls from school to come and bring the kids home from school.
And did your friends know as well?
A couple of them, yeah. I mean, the girls that used to bring him home from school, they knew, you know. And then she was the one he was trying to get in touch with, because at that time she was my closest friend. And then she would ring up the refuge and then tell me to give them a ring. She would tell me what, you know, like he's trying to ask her questions where I was, and I knew she wouldn't tell him. Yeah, so it was just a sort of a no-win situation, but I'm glad I got out on my mother's one because he was threatening her, and I thought, oh God, she wouldn't stand a chance either. She still died anyway, and I still blame him for that. I know it was bowel cancer, but nerves can also cause cancer.
The stress of everything.
The stress of everything, yeah. Because she couldn't have the kids there, and that's when they went to Tony's as well. That was only a couple of weeks. So I couldn't stand the harassment from him. And then the girl over in the other block of units rang me, and she said, I think you better come home. He's changing the locks on the door. So I rang my solicitor and the police, and they said, yeah, unfortunately, you have to go back home. So I had to walk back in the situation.
So he was still here?
Or let him have the whole place while I was at Mum's.
You just never know who you meet, do you?
You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know. I was only married to him for 3 years. I thought, oh God, what have I done in this life? To deserve all this?
No, it's not that you deserved it. No, not at all.
Well, I really
you just never know who
idolised
you're going to meet.
Yeah, you don't.
know?
I idolised the second one.
So the lesson learnt would be not to get married twice.
No, don't get married in the first place.
Don't get married in the first place. I've had a few people that I've interviewed mention that. Yeah.
In our day, you wouldn't live with someone. It just wasn't done.
No, unless you were married. Is that
Yeah,
right?
unless you were married.
If anything, you're stronger, right?
I'd
You've
say
gone
so.
through it. Yeah, like
I've been through it.
Well, Deirdre, thank you so much for opening up and telling us what your life has been like, truly and truthfully. And I'm sure your voice will encourage others who may be going through the same thing to seek the support they can. It's really brave of you to speak up and tell us your story, so thank you so much. If you are at risk or need assistance, please contact 1-800-RESPECT. That's 1-800-737-732. This is a confidential National Domestic Family Violence Counselling Service. You know, I think it's extremely courageous of Deirdree to feel safe enough and talk about what she went through in life, especially revealing such private affairs in a public platform. It takes strength and vulnerability to share your story that many don't always want to hear or are afraid to feel the harsh reality of life sometimes. If we don't talk about it, then it allows it to happen too often than we are aware of. So on that note, remember it's okay to ask for help if you need it. No matter what it is, there will always be someone to support. Just reach out. Thank you to the Northern Beaches Council and all our elders who have participated so far. If you'd like to get in touch or know of someone who would like to share their story, please contact me on www.storiesfromtheelders.com. You can also find more episodes there and support me so you can hear more stories from our elders. Thank you, and until next time.